Hello, it's Shantae again from Stitching Hearts Embroidery. Today we're going to make one of my felt tags. And so I've made a couple, if you've seen them on social media, and now of course I've lost them, but here they are. So this is the two sizes. This one is like a 3x5. This is the size that you're going to get if you're using a 4x4 hoop. And so they're not too small. So then there's another size that is a 5x7, and it is huge. I made one and I used it on a gift. My son thought it was absolutely ridiculous. He said, "Mom, why would you do that?" I thought it was cute, and I still do. I think a big tag on a little gift, and especially you can give the tag with a nice ribbon, and people can hang it and use it for whatever they want. So there are three sizes: 5x7, 3x5, and this is for the 4x4. So the 3x5 and the 5x7 are really true to size because you leave that extra edge around there if you're using felt. I don't know if you can see that where I use the pinking shears, or you could just use a straight edge and cut it, but it's still going to be it's a raw edge kind of design. So there's going to be some overage on the side. So it's really true to size. So we're going to do the 3x5. And so let's start at the start. I have been slacking on videos and instructions. And it is not because I don't want to do them. It is not because I forgot to do them. Or that I'm trying not to do what I'm supposed to be doing. It is that I am struggling with these things. And so I'm finally finding a way. I definitely like a clean look. And so I have a template now. So hopefully I'm just going to get through some of these designs that I have already done that I don't have good instructions for and get them done. First of all, it says stiff felt. And I wanted to share with you guys that I have felt, the stiff felt from Hobby Lobby. I don't do a lot of felt. Or I usually don't. I used to do a lot of testing for other designers, and I would do it on felt. And so I have a lot of felt, but if I'm going to be making more stuff on felt, I'm probably going to look on Amazon and just find some better sheets. These sheets are 99 cents a piece at Hobby Lobby, and I don't ever see them on sale anymore. It seems like a lot of years ago, they used to go on sale with maybe some certain hobby stuff, and I don't really see them on sale anymore. And so, but those are my stiff felt sheets, and they're not like the mushier felt, but you could use that. You could use felt. You could use I'm going to say waterproof canvas, or you could use a marine vinyl. You could even use some stiffened cotton and just make it out of cotton if you just figure out what are you going to stiffen it with. And there are iron-on stabilizers that you can put on the back of your cotton to make it stiffer, and you can make a tag with that. And so try some different things and then tag me in them or show me or share them with me, some different materials than just the felt. And so the next thing, so it said felt, stiff felt, quilt cotton, and I call quilt cotton just thin regular cotton, but I'm thinking you could use some velvety material or some shiny material. You just have to figure out what to iron on the back to stabilize it so that when you're getting ready to cut it, you're not having a lot of frayed edges and a lot of mess. And so I made it with quilt cotton, and so that's what the design, which is just regular cotton. And then heat and bond light, I like to put on the back of whatever material I'm appliquing so that it's clean, the cuts are clean. I said twine or ribbon. I'm using this. I got from Hobby Lobby. It says $3.99, but if you get it when it's on sale, it's probably more like $2 and something. I think it's 40% off now that they do the ribbon, something like that. And then it says sharp embroidery scissors or pinking shears. I am using tearaway stabilizer. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I use plastic sheeting a lot. But for this, I just reach right in there and tear this away. I always use a thinner tearaway, or usually do, because you get a clean cut. But you can choose whatever you usually use. And I wouldn't wait or go out and buy a whole lot of new things. I would try it because it works. With a thicker stabilizer, you can even use a cutaway because you're going to cut the edges. It's going to be smooth. It won't really make a big difference. So let's see, where can I go? Let me hoop my stabilizer. I'm just using a regular old hoop. I don't particularly like to use mighty hoops when I'm doing certain appliques, especially if it's going to go to the edge of the hoop, because then I have to worry about my scissors sticking to my hoop, like the magnetic part. So let's see. I have my design pulled up. I'm putting the name Annie on this tag, and I've already gone in my software and moved the name up to the place that I need it. But if you're using your machine to add your name, you just have to look at the instructions and figure out where to add a name. I think that's a good thing for me to add in the instructions, like add name here. I think I'll do that. But it's going to be, so I'll show you when we get there. So the name is already pulled up there. I'm going to use all one color. I think I'm going to use green felt and this black and green and red Christmassy material. And I'm going to use red thread for the letters and for the edging. So let's get started. I'm going to iron my Heat and Bond Light. This is just the piece. It's the purple pack, not Heat and Bond Ultra, not the red pack, the purple or the lavender pack. Heat and Bond Light. I'm going to add it to I'm going to iron it to the wrong side of my cotton to prevent fraying, to make it stiffer. I feel like it's the letters ride on top a little bit better, and or the stitching, and it keeps it from fraying, just gives you a nicer finish. And so I use a lot of Heat and Bond Light. I buy it by the big box, and I use a lot of it. So we have this one piece, which is about 4 by 6, because I told you our tag is 3 by 5, and it's pretty true to size. And so I'm gonna go just a little bit bigger here. That's another thing that eventually, as I get better, I'll start adding the sizes that, we need to be using. But I am learning a lot of new things these days, and I am just going along to get along for right now. And so, and I don't do a lot of measuring, and so it's not a first thought for me. So here we go. I have my 2 pieces, my front and my back, and then I have my prepared cotton. I'm going to peel this paper off because I have embroidered before and forgot to take the paper off. And I hear it crunching under my needle, like, what is that noise? Oh, yeah. So here you go. I am going to get started. My design is pulled up. I'm going to end edit. If you watched any of my videos, you know I put more stops in than anybody could ever need, because I'm never in a huge hurry. And once I make a design multiple times and I know the design well, then I don't need all the stops. But when I'm new to making a design, I like to put the stops in so that I can make sure that, I have my colors right. I know the steps, like, oh, that's what that meant, that I'm getting it right. So all the stops are in there. If you're on a single needle, it's going to stop for every color, so you don't have to worry about that. And then I'm going to say embroider. It's asking me to choose my color, and I'm going to use the red on number 1. I'm going to do all the same color. I already have my bobbin in place, so I'm going to allow it to run the tack down line. Oh, did that go right? Yeah. I see some oil that's coming on my paper because I oiled my machine. Sunday is really the day that I try to clean my machines and do all my maintenance. And I have it running slow because I was doing something yesterday and I was just running it in the ground, and it needed a drink of oil. So, but that's okay. So there's my placement stitch. Let's see if I can bring you in. And if you can see that, I'm not sure. So my placement stitch is there. Here, I can bring it out. And that's it. That's the size of the tag. And so the tag will be a little bit bigger because it's going to have whatever amount of edge you leave on there. So I'm going to lay down my first felt, which is actually the front of the design. So I'm going to let that run. The design says that it's a 15-minute stitch out, but we know when you're doing in the hoop, and because I have it running so slow. I have it running slow because I said I was hammering it yesterday, and it was just sounding like it needed a drink. I try to let the tack down. I try to remember to digitize the tack down so that it's running 2 times, because then when I go to cut, I have less problems in case I cut any of those stitches. So the next step says to lay the cotton. And the significance of saying that is that I did not add a placement stitch for the next piece, because we know it just needs to be like within the boundaries that are already there. And so when I add too many, or when anyone adds too many placement stitches and all this extra stuff, it just gets more confusing. And then the better you get, or the more the more advanced or the more familiar you get with in the hoop stuff, you really realize that you don't need all of those extra guides. So that next number 3, I believe, said to lay the cotton piece to cover the design. And so that's what I did, and I'm gonna let that stitch around. Let me grab my scissors while that's going. And because it's a tack down stitch, it's going around twice. That's what I'm trying to remind myself to keep doing, is to put the tack down stitch to go around twice. For some designs, it does not matter as much, but I'm kind of feeling like if I just stick to a routine, it'll just be better overall. That if you're using my designs regularly, then you will just know, oh, that must have been a tack down stitch. It was a double run. And so I am cutting right around the quilt cotton. And it's pretty easy. This is a pretty easy tag. Can you see it? Seems like I have some extra here. And that's it. It's going to go back in. And it's going to put a finishing stitch around here. And then the name. And then we're going to lay this piece on the back. Tape it down, and it's going to run a kind of a bean stitch around them, both pieces, and well, the bean stitch around the edge. And then we're going to take it out of the hoop, tear away the tearaway, and use whatever scissors, either straight or pinking shears, to cut it. So that is going to, it's the satin stitch or the finishing stitch around it. I try to give you a nice enough edge so that even if your scissors aren't acting right, that you can still have a clean finish around it. So, okay, it has finished with the finishing stitch, and I'm going to allow the name to stitch. Okay, let's see what we have. It is cute. Can you see it? And so the next instruction does not say cut anything. It just simply says to flip your hoop over on the back. Don't take it out of the hoop, and tape it down or secure it down. Masking tape or painter's tape, I think, seems to be the tape of choice. I always use paper tape. It just sticks better for me. And it will leave some residue on stuff, and so I think, you know, a lot of people don't like it, and so I'm not necessarily recommending it, but that is what I use. And so this is our last go around. So it's almost done. I have my pinking shears somewhere ready to go. And so I mentioned that you could just use a straight edge. You could just get something and use a rotary cutter to make the tag smooth on the edges, or just use a pair of scissors and cut up the tag. But I'm gonna use the scissors with the jagged edge on it. I don't know if you can see that. So it's almost ready. I'll bring you guys in close. One more step. Should be super quick, so we'll just stay right here. A lot of times I skip that step on my design or other designs that I buy because I use a hole puncher, and I usually like to use like an eyelet, and I don't really need the satin stitch hole around there. So it's up to you. As you're learning about in the hoop, you can customize the designs, so, you know, to make them your own. Now it's done. I see a little loop I'm going to cut off real quick. Okay. So can you see that? Yep. So it is done. I like to get rid of the paper just in case my cutting is not the best. that I'm not having stabilizer sticking out. So whether you use plastic sheeting or tear away, it's gone around it with that bean stitch enough times that it should tear away pretty easily. Now, if you're looking for like a stiffer feel and you're using cutaway, then you would just leave that and cut it along with the edge of the whole thing. And so I try to watch and line my scissors up evenly. That didn't look so even. Along the edge of the felt without compromising the stitches. I am noticing that when I'm using these pinking shears, some of my corners aren't coming out really great. And I'm sure that seasoned pinking shear users know what it is that I should or should not be doing. Like to get that little skinny corner right there. And so the next thing is I'm going to punch a hole and add in the ribbon. And so that is the whole design. This is it. It said 15 minutes, probably took us a little longer than that because I probably did a lot of extra talking. But that is it. So if I can get some more of my designs out just this quick, maybe I'll try another one or two tonight. Then I can catch up and I will feel more creative because I don't have all this extra stuff on my mind that I need to do. So that is the goal. Let me find the hole puncher. Either I use this crocodile, which I've probably had for 10 plus years, longer than that, I don't know, for a long time ago, this one's my favorite. Well, because I've used it for so long. That's it. Not that it does something much better or much different than any other one, but any hole puncher to punch that hole, and then I have a little hole puncher in there. And so there it is. I will take a piece of twine and put through there. I've been learning about tying bows. I don't know about you guys, but there are a lot of quick and easy reels going around on how to tie bows. And so my bows are coming out pretty cute, but it's not a video about tying bows. And I probably would not do well just because I'm on camera and trying to do well. So I'm not even going to attempt that. And so this is it. You can add a bow here or change the ribbon if you know some fancy ways to add ribbon or something to this. I would just tie a knot and cut it off and hang that on the gift. If I was putting this on like a baby's gift and I wanted it to be more reusable, I would probably put the metal eyelet and more like a key ring kind of end on it. So it could be used for a lot of things. And that is it. I hope that when I go back to edit this that it works. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.